Ta-dum. Tim Digiday. Thoughts on Netflix replacing its ad chief? What?
Tim from Digiday.
Hey, I got your text.
Yeah, I'm looking to get agency execs' thoughts on Netflix replacing its advertising chief. What do you make of it?
Genuinely shocked. She's an impressive person, a badass woman in media, someone who knows her shit, and I think is second to none.
They're referring to Jeremy Gorman, the former Snap and Amazon exec, whom Netflix hired as president of worldwide advertising in August 2022.
Amy has an unbelievable resume.
Amy is Amy Reinhardt, Netflix's new president of advertising, who had been the company's VP of studio operations.
And has spent the last however many years at Netflix.
7.
But has no idea how to do an ad sales offering, respectfully.
That was what one agency executive actually said to me when asked for their reaction to the news on October 3rd that Jeremy Gorman was leaving Netflix less than a year after the streaming service debuted its ad-supported tier. Now, obviously they weren't in my living room when they said it, but you get the picture. Replacing Gorman is Amy Reinhardt, a Netflix veteran who had been working on the content side of the business. The exec shakeup capped what had been a pretty eventful first year for Netflix's advertising business. And with the anniversary of that launch in early November, it effectively kicks off what will be a crucial second year as the streamer works to address its ad-supported scale issues and opens up its programmatic pipes. More on that and more agency execs' assessments of the state of Netflix's advertising business in a bit. But let's recap quickly year one of Netflix's ad business before we get into how that business may be on the verge of turning a corner in year two.
After announcing plans to explore an ad-supported tier in April 2022, Netflix quickly taps Microsoft to provide ad sales and tech support. A couple months later, it hires Jeremy Gorman and Peter Naylor to run its ad business, the ad-supported tier officially launching in November 2023. A little more than a month after that, Netflix lets some advertisers take their money back after missing viewership targets. By March 2023, Netflix's ad-supported audience tops 1 million viewers and reaches nearly 5 million by the time Netflix hosts its first upfront presentation in May 2023. And then in October 2023, Netflix replaces Gorman with Amy Reinhardt as president of advertising.
Like I said, a lot has happened with Netflix's advertising business in the past year, but there's been one narrative that has stuck throughout. Netflix has not had enough inventory to offer advertisers. That's still the case according to 4 agency executives I spoke to, all of whom asked to remain anonymous, so I've recreated what they said.
They still don't have a ton of scale. I think they're growing. They're delivering, which is good, but they don't have a ton of scale, so there's not a lot of inventory there to buy.
Another issue for Netflix has been how expensive advertisers feel its ad slots are. In August 2022, the company was asking advertisers to pay $65 for every 1,000 impressions. For comparison, that's more than double what Hulu, the predominant ad-supported streamer, was charging at the time. By the end of the year, Netflix had cut its price to $55, and then coming out of this year's upfront negotiations, Netflix's ad prices were in the low 40s.
In the upfront, they came down probably like 20%, something like that. My guess is that will continue. I think you'll see a continued drop of some sort.
That drop is obviously good for advertisers, but probably sounds bad for Netflix. Actually though, it's good for Netflix. Netflix's CPM drop has corresponded with an increase in inventory, so while advertisers pay less per impression, they stand to pay more overall after some had cut back their spending with the streamer.
I look at it as we're right-sizing the investment that needs to be on them, given their size and scale and where they sit today. So I think that's a really good positive step forward. They're going to continue to grow every year. I think that's where we're going to start seeing their volume continue to grow. I think the marketplace had to right-size the investment with them, and they still have a lot of kinks to work out.
The biggest kink, of course, is scale, which Netflix executives discussed during the company's third quarter earnings call on October 18th.
Scale is the number one priority. We're making good progress there. This quarter, we grew our ad plans membership 70% sequentially quarter to quarter. That's on top of the last quarter where we grew at 100% quarter to quarter. We now have 30% of our new signups choosing our ads plan in our ads countries.
Netflix didn't provide an update on how many ad-supported viewers it now has, but that Netflix's ad-supported audience is growing is especially important because it's about to get some new competition for advertisers' budgets in the form of Amazon Prime Video, which is telling advertisers it will have an ad-supported audience of at least 115 million people next year, and is undercutting Netflix by asking for CPMs in the mid-30s.
This Amazon launch could be very interesting, and maybe they'll be able to kind of learn from Amazon too, as well as be kind of challenged by Amazon. Because of the subscriber count, I think they've been focusing maybe on other things besides ad sales. I don't think they've done a lot in terms of advancing the abilities from an advertising perspective of like targeting, frequency capping, those kinds of things. They haven't really worked a lot on that, as well as like sponsorships and show-specific deals. They haven't done a lot of work in that area, which are things that advertisers are really going to look for.
Enter Amy Reinhart.
It's an important time, and I think a great time for Amy to come in and extend that great work, to build on that foundation and drive our ads business to the next level.
Okay, he probably wasn't referring to Amazon's Prime Video ad plans when he was saying it's an important time. It seems applicable, but no. What he was probably referring to was the work Netflix has underway to make itself more attractive to advertisers. For starters, Amy Reinhart's new position overseeing ads and her background working on the content side suggests that Netflix wants to do a better job of bridging advertising with the rest of its business, such as by opening up more content sponsorship opportunities.
There's almost like a cultural chasm at Netflix from advertising and sales to the broader organization. I spoke to one of their salespeople and she was like, the people who are legacy Netflix people honestly believe that they would never have advertising, as bonkers as that seems to somebody from the outside. So I think they're just really slow to adapt. I don't think it's because they don't want to, it's just that their culture is so focused on content and the consumer that it's taking a lot more time to get some of that focus to an advertising perspective. And I think the feeling is that Amy has some internal cachet and that she'll be able to help expedite things where maybe Jeremy couldn't. Sales had felt very separate from the rest of Netflix. I think this is their way of bridging that gap. I think they have some very interesting sponsorships, but they're limited in what they can do. If you want to talk about a content sponsorship with them, you can't talk to ad sales right now. They have a whole separate team. So the more they can connect that, I think that will help them.
As if on cue, 2 weeks after Reinhardt's appointment was announced, Netflix had announced an upcoming celebrity golf match called the Netflix Cup, for which it has sold sponsorships to T-Mobile and Nespresso. Content sponsorships probably aren't going to be what builds Netflix into an advertising behemoth though. Again, the name of the game is scale. To that end, as my Digiday colleague Seb Joseph recently reported, Netflix has told marketers it's talking with pay TV providers about making its ad-supported tier available to their subscribers. Netflix is also opening up its programmatic pipes to give advertisers more options in how they can access its inventory.
Later this year, we're launching more ways to buy programmatically through Microsoft that gives more buyers more ways to access our inventory.
For more on that, and on Netflix's plan to launch ways to buy its ad inventory programmatically but not through Microsoft, check out the November 1st edition of Digiday's Future of TV briefing. Thanks for watching.